according to a recent study by Yorkshire Building Society, only 30% of people actually check their bank balance on Payday. The other 70% apparently subscribe to what I call the Ostrich School of Financial Management. If you don't look at it, it's not a problem, right? So how do we go from burying our heads in the financial sand to having a money management system? Well, we've developed a simple but powerful Payday routine to help. And stick around until the end because I'll show you exactly how I implement this system using an example that you can start using today. Hi, I'm Aisha, your friendly neighbourhood economist with over 10 years of experience advising businesses and government. Let's get started. Right, before we dive into the main routine, there are two crucial pre-steps you need to have in place. Pre-step 1, Rescue Ready Fund. This is 1 month's worth of essential expenses saved up for those unexpected oh no moments, like when your boiler decides to take an early retirement in the middle of winter. In economics, we talk about liquidity preference, and that's just a fancy way of saying how much cash you need to feel secure. Many people think that their credit card counts as their rescue ready fund, but this will just cause you further problems down the line. It's like counting your local takeaway shop as your backup kitchen when your oven breaks. Yes, it's an option, but it's an expensive one that'll come back to bite you. Coming up, I'll show you exactly how to calculate your rescue ready fund amount, but before we get to that, there's a powerful strategy that's probably the closest thing to free money you'll ever get. And this is being part of your employer's pension match. In the UK, under auto-enrolment, employers have to contribute a minimum of 3% while you contribute 5%. The US equivalent is the 401k plan, where employers often match between 3 to 6% of an employee's salary contributions, though matching isn't mandatory like in the UK. Many employers in both countries offer more generous matching, some going up to 10% or even higher. A study by Scottish Widows found that increasing your pension contribution by just 1% in your 20s could add an extra £25,000 to your pension pot by retirement. That's the power of compound interest. Okay, so now you've got your pre-steps in place, where do you go from here? It's time to think smart with your steps. Step 1. S. Survey your savings. This first step is all about surveying your savings. So what we mean by surveying is knowing exactly what comes in and what goes out each month. And this is where our 3 Ps system comes in handy. Priorities. Your essential expenses should be around 40 to 50% of your take-home pay. Now, this category includes all non-negotiables like your mortgage, utilities, insurance, and so on. So 50% could be your minimum target, but there are ways to reduce this proportion. So, for example, you could look to switch insurance providers, switch energy providers, double check you're using all your subscriptions, and so on. By drilling down into each component, you could aim to have your priorities accounting for 40% rather than 50% of your take-home pay instead. Pleasures. This includes all of those nice-to-haves like dining out or that gym membership you swear you'll use more next month, and should account for about 30% of your take-home pay. Progress. Now, this category is all about your future-focused spending. It should account for around 20 to 30% of your take-home pay, and we'll take a closer look at this in some of the latest steps. Think of it like a Sunday roast. Your priorities are the meat and potatoes, your pleasures are the Yorkshire pudding, and your progress is that extra gravy you're saving for later. All parts are important, but in different proportions. Right. When people don't implement the next step effectively, it can really weigh you down and essentially stop you from ever building much savings or growing wealth. So our step 2 on the list is M. Manage high interest debt. Here's an eye-opening statistic. The average credit card interest rate in the UK is over 22%. That means if you have £1,000 in credit card debt, you're paying around £220 just in interest each year. In economics, we call this an opportunity cost. the money you could be investing or saving if you weren't paying interest. Many people make minimum payments while saving money elsewhere, but that's like filling a bucket with water while there's a hole in the bottom. Yes, you're adding water, but you're losing more than you're gaining. Okay, so the most financial optimal way to clear your debt would be to arrange them by interest rate, highest to lowest. Then focus on getting rid of the ones that are at the very top of the list. Psychologically, if you have a lot of different debts, you might find it more motivating to try and clear some of the lowest balances first, and then use that momentum to tackle the bigger ones. Talking of psychology, the next step might be one of the best for giving you peace of mind. Most people fear the financial impact of losing their job. This step gives you that safety net to catch you if you fall. So, step 3 is A. Accumulate your emergency fund. While your Rescue Ready fund handles immediate issues, your emergency fund is your financial fortress. Think of it as your personal insurance policy against life's bigger challenges. And one of the biggest ones you could possibly face is losing your job. Most banks in the UK suggest having 3 to 6 months of expenses saved. Why? Well, because the average time to find new employment in the UK is currently around 3 to 4 months. And in the US, it's more like 5 months. Having this buffer gives you the freedom to pick the best job for you, rather than just having to accept the first job that comes along. Now, if you're self-employed or you're in a more risky sector, for example, you might want to have more like 6 to 9 months worth of living expenses saved up instead. So, some of you may have put some of these earlier steps into place already, but not many people have set aside money for this next step. Here's where it gets exciting. Set aside 5% of your income for what economists call human capital investment. That's just a fancy way of saying investing in yourself and your earning potential. A study by Harvard Business Review found that people with multiple income streams were more likely to maintain their standard of living during economic downturns. So this next step is number 4 on our list. Resource your side hustle. Think of your side hustle fund as your escape from Monday meetings savings pot. Whether you're dreaming of starting an Etsy shop, selling knitted scarves, or becoming the next YouTube sensation, this is your seed money. Waiting until you have enough money to start a side hustle is like waiting for all the traffic lights to be green before starting your journey. It's just never going to happen. So, start small, but start now. Okay, this next step is all about the most tax efficient place to put your money. It doesn't necessarily have to be the last step, but this is where it lands in our routine. Step 5, T, tax-free accounts. In the UK, we're fortunate to have ISAs, so that's individual savings accounts. You can save up to £20,000 per tax year completely tax-free. In the US, there are Roth IRAs, which offer tax-free contributions up to a certain limit, depending on whether you're over or under 50 years old. Okay, let's break this down into bite-sized pieces. Cash ISAs. These are perfect for your emergency fund and short-term savings. So in the beginning, you can use cash ISAs, but do be aware that this counts towards your ISA limit. Stocks and shares ISAs. These are good for longer term growth because inflation is always eating away at your savings. And finally, lifetime ISAs. With these, you can get a 25% government bonus on up to £4,000 per year. All right, now let's take a look at our Payday routine tracker. We'll pop a link to the tracker in the description box below. So, starting with this table here in the upper left corner, you'll find the area for you to enter your net pay and then any side hustles or other income streams you might have. All of these blank boxes are the ones that you'll need to input data. And moving across to the right, you'll find the 3 Ps table. So in the first section, you've got your priorities where you can enter these essential costs here. In the second section, you've got your pleasures and you can enter your costs here. And in the third section, you've got your progress, and again, you can enter your costs here. Next, we'll move on to your emergency fund. Now, this is where this table to the left comes in handy. Your Rescue Ready Fund will be calculated based on 1 month of your priority spend. In the cell below, you can select whether you've got yours saved or not. And in the cell below that, you can select whether you've already got your emergency fund saved up or not. If you haven't, you can then select how many months worth of emergency fund you'll need. In the final cell, the table will calculate your overall emergency fund target for the year. And quickly jumping back over to the 3Ps table here on the right, the emergency fund cell gives you a calculation of the savings you need per month to generate your total emergency fund within a year. So, for example, if your total emergency fund is $9,600, you can see that you'll need to save $800 per month to reach that target in a year. Now, this is just a brief overview, but over on the Easy Steps tab, you'll find a full breakdown of how to use it. And finally, this table below shows whether or not you've met your targets, and you can change your target in these cells here. So, now you have a solid payday routine, but how do you start the journey of building your wealth? This video will show you how. See you there.